All right, ladies and gentlemen, I found out earlier that I say that at the beginning of literally every single episode. My intro is always, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of Keeping It Rio. You guys know I'm excited because I'm always excited, but especially today because my guest is a total badass. And to be honest with you, I'm a little surprised that I've got my guest on here because I didn't know that we would have this opportunity, but I'm extremely grateful for it. And we've known each other for several years, one of the best guys in this industry, someone I really look up to and appreciate. And I'd like to just take no time whatsoever and welcome in my man Gilbert to the show. Gilbert, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for asking. I'm also super excited and super honored to be on the show with you, Keeping It Rio. Um, Man, yeah, it is. It's been some while, but I'm glad that I get the opportunity to talk to you today.
Yeah, this is cool. You were one of the guys that stepped up when I just threw out a post the other day looking for some cool guests. And it was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Gilbert's a guy I want to talk to because we were colleagues in a previous life. And I've kind of got to watch you grow up a little bit in the industry and see what you're doing now. And it makes me proud because I know you're a good guy. And I know you've got, wonderful core values. You're just a respectable guy and you're doing this stuff for the right reasons. So, nothing to live up to as far as that intro. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on, Gilbert. Tell us about who Gilbert Gonzalez is so that the fans of Keeping It Rio will know you by name, and everywhere you walk around, people are going to say, dude, it's Gilbert from Keeping It Rio.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Gilbert, and I'm currently the regional sales manager for Restoration Roofing NTX out of Oklahoma City. So we've expanded and we've came out to another market out in Oklahoma City, and that's what I've been tackling on for the rest of this year. So I'm super excited to be on this journey. And like you said, how I've grown from the past few years that we've known each other. It's been a great journey. Like every journey has its up and downs, but a little bit about me. I have a daughter. She's 5 years old. She's my my heart and anchor. So she's what I'm pushing for every single day. And I'm married. My wife, she's from Venezuela. Her name is Jesslyn. So super in love. Also another great motivation that I have in my life right now. And yeah, I guess I can just go into the little bit about what we're doing. What I'm doing is really trying to reach out to this market and just change it as a whole, kind of how you did in San Antonio, which was great.
We have some fun, that's for sure. And it's definitely a roller coaster ride. There's been ups and downs and bumps in the road, but I wouldn't want to do anything else because we are building something. We are changing the way that people view not just our industry, but the way that people view us as people and the way that we go about our lives. And I like to think that we're inspiring a few people along the way by taking these chances and doing it. And I love the fact, because I didn't even know that you had gone to Oklahoma City. You've been with Restoration for a couple years now, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we've been working together. Officially since the year before. But this year is when I went all in and with the company with Mark and Ben, and it's been really great ever since when I went all in into the company. So
I
yeah,
love it, man. And it's only going to get better. Trust me, because the more you go, the more you learn, the more you experience. It's really a lot of fun. But let's kind of rewind it a little bit and let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your early days, how you ended up getting into the roofing industry. I always love to ask people this, and everybody's got a different story. I got
yeah,
into it one day because I drove a crane truck and I used to deliver drywall. And one Friday, my boss pissed me off, and I was like, you know what? This sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. And I was driving down the road. I saw a sign for a roofing supply company that was hiring. I pulled in on a Friday afternoon, and that was almost 27 years ago. And I
wow.
didn't know that morning I was getting into roofing. So everybody's got a different entry into it. Tell me a little bit about your early days and then about how you did find your way into this industry to begin with.
For sure. So That's crazy because it is true. You know, every time that I meet a salesman, another salesman or a roofing company owner, I always ask them the same thing. I'm like, so how'd you get into this, industry? Because that is a interesting question, right?
Yeah,
uh,
everybody's got a unique story, that's for sure.
yeah. So basically, me, I went into the Marine Corps Reserves. So that what that means is basically I had to do all my training like a regular Marine would, active duty Marine would. And then I would go to my duty station, which mine was in Grand Prairie, in the Dallas Metroplex. So basically, when I got out of there, I had to get a job. I was like, get a job, go back to school, and go to drill, right? And basically, I went with some relatives because my grandpa, he had a roofing business back in the day. He installed roofs and things like that. So I went and worked, and they recommended me to a roofing company. And they said, hey, you should actually, English, you were in the Marine Corps. You should be like one of the project managers, not be on the roof working. And so I talked with this company and they hired me on. They showed me the ropes. And I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity that I got from them. But it wasn't where I needed to be. It was kind of that entry, position where I was basically being, for lack of better words, I guess, taken advantage of. Long story short, which is very common in the roofing industry.
Oh yeah.
Right. But what I did, what was really beneficial from that was that I learned the ins and outs of the insurance process. With anywhere from, from literally knocking the door um, to dealing with the insurance company, the adjuster meeting, supplementing. In that time, I had to learn to do my own supplements. So I studied the Xactimate software. I studied the Xactimate, all previous claims, what to look for during inspections, all the basics, right? That you need to learn to be successful in the roofing industry. And so basically, after working a bunch of claims that I sold and worked personally, and I didn't get the pay structure that I wanted. That's when I found the company that we both actually worked for, or worked. I guess we were a part of,
We were
right?
in the same umbrella,
Really,
yes,
really,
absolutely.
really. And that's where I really learned how to manage a roofing sales team and build a team. Where I became a branch manager, very similar. Had a brick and mortar office, had interviews to do with salesmen, or potential salesmen and things like that. And that was great. It just wasn't what I was looking for in the moment. I'm not one to really talk bad about the previous companies, but we just weren't the right fit. So I continued on, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go independent. My family did it on the labor side. I can do it. I've learned what I felt like was at the time the ins and outs of the roofing industry, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it all on my own. And so I did that for a while, and there was success, but I wasn't by any means nowhere near the big roofing companies. So I actually ended up transitioning myself out, and looking into different careers. And I went in. Luckily, I had a great opportunity to go into still in the construction industry, but it was in the commercial side. So I became a project manager for a commercial construction company in Dallas, Rocky Duran. They do Division 10, which is installing bathroom stalls, fire extinguishers, marker boards, things like that for big construction, new buildings or renovations. And I got and I really liked it, and it was a great experience. But I ended up still, because me and Ben, one of the owners of RRNTX, we've stayed in contact over the years, right? So even though I was doing my own thing, we were in contact. We were friends, and every now and then I would go out with his team. So we stayed in contact, and earlier this year is whenever we set up a really good structure for me to transition out of the commercial space and go back into into the roofing residential space, right, industry, where it's dealing with storm restoration, really. And so ever since then, that's what I've been doing and focusing, and it's been a really great journey. But and I've learned a lot, and but that's where we're at right now, right?
Yep. And you know what? I love that because I think one of the most valuable things that can happen to us along the way is to get into situations where you learn, okay, this is a valuable lesson, but you know, on the front end, you realize I'm getting taken advantage of. I'm over here working harder than what I'm getting paid for. You transition out of that into a different one where you learn more from, different people. You get to experience different sides of the business, and there's always those ebbs and flows. There's always the ups and downs. And being able to say, look, I've gone through this and I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. I've seen things that I would implement into my company. I've tried to do the company and decided, maybe that's not the way I want to go about it at this time. And then you find a home and you realize, okay, this is something I can definitely get behind. This is something that I believe in my heart is going to be the best opportunity for myself, my young family. And you get back into doing roofing. And, roofing it's one of those things I joke and tell people. I tried to quit like 50 times and I always end up back in it because for whatever reason, it's just magnetic and it brings the really cool people back into it. It gives you something that you can go out and create a life that you want. And really the possibilities are endless with it, And I think that's the most beautiful thing for a guy like you who's driven, who's motivated, who's always been willing to do the work. It's inevitable that you're going to end up at the top. So let's talk a little bit about this. Okay. You go back into roofing, you're with Restoration Roofing NTX, and Ben Burgess is the guy. I don't know him personally, but we're Facebook friends, and I can tell that he's a pretty good guy. He's got a good reputation. Tell me a little bit about the dynamic at the team that you're with now. What kind of vibes do you guys get? What kind of core values do you guys work with? I can tell it's an honest company because you wouldn't work for a schmuck company. Tell me a little bit about the company, and then we'll kind of venture off into your new thing here in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest points, or the reasons that I went with Restoration Roofing NTX, was one, Ben, right? He became a friend, right? Kind of like you with being Facebook friends. And then I met him in person, working a storm. I met him at the gas station. I was like, hey, Ben, like we're friends on Facebook. And he's like, hey, Gilbert. And I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, dude, like, that's so cool seeing you. Like we're both, we both had different companies, but just that mutual understanding of
it's a brotherhood. There's a camaraderie.
Exactly. And it wasn't that, the guys, the other people that in different companies, and they're like, man, not wanting to talk to people or whatever, being rude and stuff. And that's never been me. If I ever see another company or another rep, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Like, kill it, whatever. There's enough for everybody,
Absolutely.
But the biggest things with the core values and why it really grabbed my attention was because it correlated with my personal core values and what's instilled into me, what I grew up, my morals, my ethics, my values, and our core values are the first one is deliver results, right? And all the way 100%. I mean, who doesn't want to deliver results, right? And I need to know that. You need to know, everybody needs to know that we need to deliver results. And that's something that I love to keep fresh on my mind. The next one is take ownership in everything. That's huge for me. Accountability. Like I said, I mean, literally every single one of these, it correlates with my personal ethics and values. I literally right now, I have an accountability partner. I 100% agree in being held accountable and doing what you say you're going to do, right? So that was another huge thing for me, is not only from as a personal side, but as a company, right? Accountability. the not only do we get, like, as reps, do we get held accountable, but the company is also held accountable, right? Commit to continuous improvement. That's another huge, you know, that's another huge thing for me, because every day I'm trying to get better. One of my accountability partner, Chris Wonder, another really great guy in the industry. He's our project, one of our project managers leads, and he's my accountability partner. He reminded me about this as, if you're 1% better every single day, at the end of the year, you're going to be like, 365% better, or whatever, however much better you want to be. But literally, if you take it out 1% every single day, at the end of the year, you're going to be 365% better. That's one of the, things that really correlates with me. Our next one is embrace the grind. Build a positive team environment, and make an account. So all these things, right? I feel like they're the core values of a company. They need to really resonate with each individual in there, and we all need to have those in mind, and we all need to be keeping that vision of where we're going, what we're doing, how we represent ourselves, all of that. I think it's imperative to have that in a successful environment, in a successful company. Excuse my voice. I'm coming down with something, but
It's all good, my friend. You
I
sound
don't know how the
golden to
audio is
me. You
coming
sound absolutely
in,
golden.
but
I love that. And I'll tell you what, this is kind of a relative story to that. I was going to post a picture of you and I that was taken probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe at this point. And it was a defining moment in my life. And it was also something that I'll never forget about you. Is we were at an event and John Paramore was speaking that day.
yeah.
And two things happened that day that directly relate to Gilbert and Chuck. Number one, I took a picture with this guy, and I took a picture with you out in front of the building. I wanted to post that picture and say, you know what, I'm going to have Gilbert on my show, yada, yada. But I didn't post the picture because I was like 100 pounds heavier. And it was that day when I was like, you know what, man, I'm a fat bastard. I need to do something about this. But I remember very vividly, we were doing a physical challenge that day. And this is when I learned about Gilbert and the heart that he has. And just like, this dude won't give up. Is they were doing planks in front of a whole bunch of people, right? And people are dropping off after like 15, 20 seconds. At that point in my life, I couldn't have done a 10-second plank. So I'm not hating on anybody. I now can do 20 1-minute planks when I do my ab workouts. But at that point, I couldn't do anything. And I remember this vividly. Like, everybody drops off except for Gilbert. And Gilbert's just chilling over there like, yeah, whatever. And we're like minutes into this thing, right? And it's like, dude, this guy, like, I don't know. You won the contest, but it was like, okay, Gilbert, you can quit, bud. You won. But you wouldn't quit. And you kept going and going and going and going. And I believe that day I might have seen a guy set the Guinness Book of World Records record for holding a plank that long. But it really explained who you were as a guy, right? It was like, he could have just won, but this dude dominated. And he made damn sure that people were aware of who he was and the heart that he had. And I know that shit hurts because I do it all the time. And it's like, I have nothing but a high level of respect for you. And I noticed that day, like, this guy is different than even the most high level people that were in the room with us that day. And it was never a surprise to me when you started moving up the ranks and started getting your location, your own team that you were able to put together, and the success that you were having with it. And that's kind of unrelated to anything other than I just remember that day vividly. And then a year or so later, maybe 2 years later, I reached out to John Paramore and I showed the picture of me standing beside him and then a picture of who I became. And it was all that principle. It was 1% better. Let me go out. Let me do my stuff. And to this day, Gilbert, I get up every morning at 3:30. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I do 4 miles minimum every day in the morning of a walk/jog. I don't run anymore, but I did do a half marathon 2 years ago. And it was all because of that mindset. It was all because of, let me just get a little bit better. Let me lose 1 pound. Let me lose a quarter of a pound a day. And over the course of a year, you lose 100 freaking pounds. And all of a sudden you're a totally different person. And it always impressed me how you were able to take that mentality and even go to another level with it, to where it was like, there's no doubt about this guy. So I appreciate the fact that you met your buddy at a gas station. You struck up a conversation, because to me, you're always one conversation away from a completely life-changing situation. You find yourself in that. So let's talk a little bit about when you got started back into roofing. You decided, okay, I'm going to do this. You go out, you're doing your thing, you're having your success, and then comes this opportunity to go to Oklahoma City, which, like I said, I didn't even realize you were doing this. So tell me a little bit about how that develops, and about, the decision-making process. Cause you've said you've got a wife, you've got a family. I have to assume that you packed up and relocated, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So how does that work, for you, for your situation in life? Tell me a little bit about how that all came about.
So essentially, right, the storm hit OKC, right? And we're getting photos, we're tracking it on Hail Recon, Hail Trace. Ben had some contacts up here and where actually it hit in the area. So we got some photos, and I told Ben, I said, hey man, I'm down to go to Oklahoma City and sell some roofs. I know we're licensed out there, right? And he's like, yeah, we're licensed out there. It's like, okay. I'm like, well, let's go. And he's like, well, what do you need? And I was like, I need a truck, because my truck was getting it was breaking down. I mean, it wasn't breaking down, but just not as reliable as I needed it to be.
Yeah, not to make a big move like that.
Right. And so he's like, okay, cool. He's like, get a rental. I'm like, all right, cool. We got the rental. And he's like, get an Airbnb. Got the Airbnb. He's like, get the team together. Who you taking? And so I quickly assembled the team. It was Danny and my boy Dennis, which they both have been working with restoration this year as well. And so we jumped in the Tacoma and headed to the Airbnb. Immediately started canvassing. We saw some pretty good success. So we literally we stayed throughout the weekend, and then we were able to come back out within the next week. After that, during that time before coming back out again, I got with Ben immediately after the day I got back to Dallas, and I was like, hey man, after taking this, I think I was here for 4 or 5 days working the storm, like the day after the storm hit. So we worked it 5 days, came back to Dallas, and I'm basically debriefing Ben and letting him know what I saw, what we worked, what we got, how many contacts we have, all our data, right? And I'm like, this is how much we spent, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, man, so what's up? Like we have a license out there, but I guess no one's working out there. And he's like, yeah, well, we had someone, but they kind of fell off. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, well, like what's the branch looking out there looking like? Like, are y'all planning on expanding? I know there had been talks about Fort Worth and different areas, right, of expanding outside of the McKinney area for another branch. And so I said, is okay on OKC and in works. And we kind of vaguely talked about it before, seeing how as our first trip would be out here. And after my first trip, like I said, it was just, I liked it so much, and I like the pace out here, the people, I like the community, I like I just like, honestly, almost about everything about it.
It's a cool place. I get to go over there quite a bit myself. I work with 777 Roofing over in Mustang, so I get to go up there quite a bit. I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm friends with the owner also, Larry Andrews.
Yep, Larry's the man.
Larry Andrews. So yeah, I met one of his reps, and he's a really solid guy. And he was one of those. And you can just tell, his company as well, but by his rep, the way he represented, 777, just what kind of company they are, and there was, he's very respectful, very, immediately we were just chopping it up. So it was a good experience. Not like some of the other companies that I've ran into out here already. But yeah, so basically, I feel like OKC is like, it's like what Dallas may have been maybe 30 years ago, is what I've heard, because I wasn't, around 30
None
years
of
ago.
us were around 30 years ago, Gilbert. Come on.
I
I
know,
was
right? I know you
graduating high
were,
school, maybe, but yeah, I
right,
gotcha.
right. Back when we were like, young, like, before we were born, Chuck.
I love that. And you
Yeah.
know what? I always like to ask this when you break into a new territory. I did the same thing in San Antonio. I had
Yeah.
never been here before in my entire life. You know the backstory. We bought a company that was out of business, and I have never spent one moment of my entire existence in San Antonio until the day I show up. I have to get everything out of a storage locker and put it back into a physical office. And then
Yeah.
I have to go out and build a team. I have to go out and find people that actually want to do roofs with us. And it's kind of hard, And I'm
Right.
guessing it's about the same thing. You had a presence over there, but it wasn't really established and it kind of fell off a little bit. You're going to basically start this thing back up from
Mhm.
scratch, maybe even with a little bit of a deficit because there had been previous history and it just kind of all the momentum was lost. So tell me a little bit about how that works for you. Like you said, you go there, you instantly start canvassing. I
Yeah.
know how fun that can be, especially when someone's like, dude, I've never heard of your company before. Who are you? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So you and your team get up there, you start doing this. Did you
Yeah.
guys just instantly hit the door running, or was there a little bit of blowback from homeowners? Did you have to kind of explain who you were, earn their trust at all? What was it like for you guys over there?
So I think our team's a little different, right? We run, our ship a little different over here. And honestly, we hit the ground running. I mean, we got here on our way here. We were we were prepping on the way here, and we left in the morning, like 4 in the morning, and we are like on the way. One was taking a nap, one was reading, one was, you know what I mean. We were like working, right? We were on a mission. And we literally got here. We checked into the Airbnb, which was a crazy story on a side note, right? But we got the Airbnb squared away, and then we went straight to a neighborhood, literally, like changed polos, boom. Oh, we actually had some appointments already set. So
Nice.
sorry, I misspoke. We went and hit some appointments first, and we signed up, I think, our first contract on our first appointment. Boom, signed them up, right? Good to
That's how
go.
you build momentum right there,
Right.
buddy.
Exactly. And that was on me. That's what I had. We just got out here in the Tacoma, left 4 in the morning, going to our first lead that I got on the way there from Ben. Ben, hooked it up for us. And on the way there, he's like, "Hey, I got some appointments for you." And so we got there, we got to the appointment, and I was like, "Man, I have to close this and get a contingency or something, to set the tone for this trip, and set the tone for really like what I'm here for, which was different than what Dennis and Danny knew, because I was like, okay, I'm looking for a potential territory to take over, so I'm
Yep.
like, I need to set the tone, right? Like what we're about to here to do this weekend, and so yeah, we signed them up, go to the Airbnb. Crazy thing happened at the Airbnb, but everything was good, and we finally got it squared away. Then we hit the doors, and the people were actually very friendly, very opening, very welcoming. Just small town, like small town people, right? Like
Yeah, nice people for sure. I've
nice,
gone for walks at 3
respectful,
o'clock in the morning in OKC before, and I've never had an issue.
genuine people. I mean, like just good people, right? And so that's why I fell in love with it here, because we went out there and we did we did our job, and they were very receptive with us. So I was like, okay, cool, yeah, like I can't wait to get back here. I'm thinking about moving here now. I'm like, I want to set up an office. And so I told Ben and Mark, I said, you know what? Hey, I'm down to move over here if y'all want to like open up a branch over here. And I guess, they had to speak about it. And then when I got back from the trip, I debriefed them and let them know. And then basically just exactly how, excuse me, exactly how Ben told me, get the Airbnb, get the rental to go over there. He was like, man, all right, look for the apartment, look for, like look into this, get the U-Haul, like all this. And literally within a week, I mobilized our family. I put, I packed our whole apartment into the U-Haul in the back of the Tacoma. I actually then bought a Tacoma because I was like, I need to sell my truck, get a new truck, because I can't be dealing with my Ram
Yep.
issues.
Yeah, Rams. I'll tell you. I got stories about those.
With my Ram issues, in Oklahoma City, like away from everybody that I know. My dad was a huge help with my truck because he owns his own shop and all that, and my cousin as well. And I don't have those people anymore over here. So I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be stuck on the side of the road so I got the Tacoma U-Haul and we headed out here and we got into this apartment and we've been closing contracts. We've been building. We've done 4 builds out here or 3 builds out here already, and many in the works, pending weather, pending, insurance checks. You know how the
Oh yeah, all those variables we have no control over. That's
exactly.
for sure. I'm dealing with it this week. It rained over the weekend. I had to cancel a project, and now it's like, well, when can I slot it back in? And you have to be able to adapt. And I love what you just said. Like literally, it was like, hey, I want to do this. The fact that you stepped up and said, look, guys, I've got it in me to build this. I know what it's like. I know what it takes. I understand exactly what I'm looking for. And you guys are going to provide me everything that I need to be successful with it. You go back and tell your family, hey, guys, guess what? We're about to go to Oklahoma City. Was there any kind of feedback from your family about that? Or were they completely just like, let's go do it, man. Let's make it happen?
They were all my family, and I'm extremely grateful for it. They were all extremely supportive, and they all trusted me and all supported it. My mom even, she even told me, she was like, hey, well, I can help with Adeline. I can help with my daughter because she's, right now she lives in Dallas, but my mom was like, I can help with meeting you to bring her to you so you can still have your time with her. And my dad too, he's like, man, if this is, if this is what that is going to be good for you and your family, then you know what you're doing. Like, you're good, you got it. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And my wife too, 100%. The most important one, I think, is she was 100%, 150% backing me. And she even left her job, that she had a really good job in Greenville, Texas, with a company from Venezuela. And like she had to go through a bunch of hurdles to like work for that company and all this stuff. And so she even, came out here with me as well. Cause at a certain point I was like, okay, well, what if I'm, traveling? And I'm like, no, it's not going to work. Like I need to move. Right.
Yeah, that sucks.
Quickly, I realized that like, it was just kind of one of those thoughts, but then quickly vanished. I'm like, no, I need to be there.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. As someone that traveled against the Texas Triangle for 3 years, I know, when you're 5 hours away from your office and something goes wrong, if I leave right now, I'll be there in 5 hours. So being hands-on and right there where you're going to set up is absolutely crucial, I think, to being successful. So you've made the decision. You've moved across there to Oklahoma City. The guys that were with you were from here in Texas. Obviously, you've already said their main goal wasn't to move to Oklahoma City with you. So the next step there is to start looking for your own people. Have you gotten to this point yet where you're starting to look for people there locally that you can bring onto your team and help develop?
We have, and we've launched a campaign on ZipRecruiter, and it's been ZipRecruiter and other platforms, and we've had some pretty good interviews. But I think right now I've only really looked at one real solid candidate, right? And so I actually have a meeting with him tomorrow, so we'll see where we'll go with that. But I'm extremely excited because the other ones are good. I mean, all of the applicants are good. It's just I don't know why I get a lot of people that apply and then I don't hear anything back from. It's like you apply but you don't want to talk. It's kind of,
they weed themselves out pretty quickly. And for me, it was the same thing when I got here to San Antonio. I don't know a human being within 3 hours of here, right?
Yeah.
And I have to start finding people to work with me because I don't know anybody. I got to find some locals that at least have families that need roofs, right? And I interviewed like 64 different people before I hired the first guy. And when I hired my first guy, it was like, all right, I'm going to build something that's going to be awesome for you. I'm going to teach you a new skill set. I'm going to show you something that you don't know anything about, and we're going to be successful. And we did. We built this up, and that first guy I hired went out and started his own company a few years later, which made me incredibly proud. But I understand, that first guy that you bring in is the most important one, because that's the one that you're going to look at and say, hey, I'm going to instill all of my knowledge, all of my experience into you. I want to change your life. You can't just go hire some bum from, down the street that's just looking for work. You got to be really selective with it. And I guess my question regarding that is, what are some of the things that you look for, or that you're looking for in those candidates that you're going to bring in these early days of the company? Because trust me, if you start hiring too many guys that don't fit your mold, that don't fit your core values, it can go south pretty quick. I learned that from experience, just bringing in bodies and bringing in people and making it a numbers game. And I know in our industry, that's a big mindset is, you just got to bring them in, hire them, and fire them faster and all that. But to me, it's like, no, if you're going to build something of quality and value, you need to start with a solid foundation. So tell me what you're looking for with these first couple members of your team that's going to help you take this to the next level.
100%. And I'm glad you asked me that, because that's a great question, because you're right. And that was one of the things that I experienced back in at my previous, when I was a branch manager, is I would go through, a lot of interviews. And I would want the salesperson inside me, that, natural instinct to always be closing, kind of sometimes rushes through me. Right. And I'm like, oh, I need to close this guy. Right. Like I need to close this guy. And sometimes you hit it off so good, even though there's those, those telltale signs.
The red flags are all around if you're looking for them. And in a lot of times we're not looking for them, because I'm like you. I'm trying to sell this opportunity. You can make great money and you can live your life. But I never ask these guys, why should I allow you into this that I'm going to build? And I think that mindset shift is huge. So I didn't mean to interrupt what you're saying, but proceed with the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've experienced that, previously, where I made those mistakes and I overlooked, or I didn't overlook it. Right, where it slipped past me, right? And I hired him, and I'm like, yes, I hired another person, right? It's another person that I'm going to be able to replicate myself into, right? And do
sounds good,
and have them do what I do and whatever. But and so recently, and on this time around, right, with my current candidates, I'm studying them, I'm looking them up. I have the resumes. I want to make sure that I know everything about them before. And then when I talk to them, I want to study them. I want to make sure that their core values, their ethics, that they align with our company, that they align with me, the way that I live, the way that I sell. Right. And not necessarily actually the way that I sell, but I mean, someone that's going to represent the same core values, ethics, and morals. Because like I said, there's, I've done it before, and you end up wasting a lot of, here's another plugin, is time, money, energy that I learned, right? Like you're going to be putting a lot of time, money, and energy into things, into business, into everything. And you need to know when it's beneficial for everybody and when it's not. And it's not necessarily like, oh, it's a selfish thing or a selfish kind of way of thinking. It's actually something that I think is more morally correct, because the last thing that I want to do is hire someone and sell them on the dream, right, or on the story of, hey, you're going to be successful, you're going to be great, you're going to be, we're going to do all this stuff, and we're going to conquer the world, and then not do that. Right. Even though
it sucks. It's deflating to you, because it's like, man, I had all these high hopes and I didn't see some of these red flags, and the red flags are what usually ends up screwing the whole deal up. And then you second guess yourself and you're thinking, man, do I really know what I'm doing? Do I really know how to find talent? Am I just a sucker that falls for whatever comes in the door and I'm going to replicate myself again? You start to realize, you're one of a million, you know, like you can't
Right.
just go out and replicate someone like us because most people are not like we are. Whether
Exactly.
that's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a true statement. And I'm proud of that fact, honestly. You know, we have a very similar path. I came down to a place where I'd never been. I had no business set up, nothing. You did the exact same thing. And it takes, you got to be a little bit deranged, right? I mean,
Right.
I think both of us are probably happy to say, hey, you know what? I'm the orange that's in the apple tree. You know, I'm the one that sticks out, and finding people that can be compatible to that and people that can live up to your standards, because we set very high standards for ourselves, and
Yeah.
then we expect everybody that does the same. But then you realize, man, this world's filled with shit people that just don't, you know, they're willing to skate by, they're willing to do the bare minimum. I've had so many of the sales guys that came through the organization over the years that I don't even remember these guys. I had a guy run into me the other day and he's like, Chuck, what's up, bro? And it's like, dude, I know that guy sold for us, but I have no idea what his name is. Like, I don't remember anything that he did of note. And it kind of made me feel bad because it was like, damn, I wonder how many people there are like that out there that I
Yeah.
instilled hope in. And then for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And I wonder if they think, you know, that dude was full of crap. When I'm over on my side thinking, well, they were full of crap. They didn't try as hard as they should have.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, finding those people is tough. So Indeed and all that stuff is great, but it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. You never know exactly what you're going to get. And being able to be selective and say, hey, look, this is a prime opportunity to change lives, to be a better human being, to work with a company that's going to take care of you, that's going to do things ethically, that's not going to, you know, leave you hanging or not pay you for what you're supposed to be doing. It's a lot. And I really admire your mindset this time around because it is different. We both went through the same exact thing. And it's totally different the second time. You learn from all those mistakes. And I just want to say, you know, I admire that fact. And I love that you're being very selective and you're doing your research on people. And, you know, at the end of the day, what is the ultimate goal for you over in Oklahoma City? Obviously, you've committed to it full time. You're going to go in, you're going to make it happen. How many sales reps are you looking to bring on in the first year that you can, you know, help develop, give that personal touch to, but also make sure that they're not doing things wrong and make sure that they're not putting your company in a vulnerable position out there in the public?
Right. So what I'm looking for realistically is 10 solid reps to assist with our office, right? And I think it's 100% doable. I've talked to not only obviously the candidates that I've interviewed and things like that, right? But just people that I've met while living here, while I've gone out to you know have dinner. To sometimes so I got this Segway, game changer, game changer.
Nice.
I'll just say that, right? A Segway is a game changer. But I was out having fun with it just by riding it around I live in downtown OKC.
Mhm.
So all I got to do is jump out and I can kind of just, you know, just ride around the city. And they have like scooters, like the Uber scooters and the Lyft scooters. And so you got to ride on the road. So it's I was just out riding one day and I ran into a security guard and we just ended up sparking a conversation. And he was like, man, I was looking into going into a roofing company and all this. And so, I mean, even through there, he's been talking to me, reaching out to me about when we can sit down and kind of go over some, because he's applied for other roofing companies and things like that. But I went to Utah and then Dallas over the holidays. But I think it's 100% doable. 10 people where I can at a certain within the year, I feel like it's very attainable to train to 100% from zero to knowing, you know, everything that I know within a year. So
I love that. And that's a big goal right there. You know, it really is. It's not to be understated what you're taking on. And I have total confidence that you're going to make it happen because I've seen you do this stuff in the past. And you're one of those guys that's always stood out to me. So I don't have any doubt about that. what about the long-term plan in Oklahoma City? You guys have that first office, which I'm sure is probably, pretty humble. You're there right now by yourself. You don't need a huge office with a giant warehouse and all this stuff. But as you continue to evolve, what does it look like for you moving forward with the company? And, what does your branch look like 5 years from now? You're sitting in a big ass office in downtown with mirrors. You're on the 30th floor of a skyscraper. You're the top dog over there in OKC. How does that look?
Yeah, I think I think that's very attainable and very, I do imagine myself sometimes in that exact setting, but I also imagine myself in maybe owning or renting a more smaller, simpler office, where maybe there's more room for better, I would say, amenities, right? So, but I do see both in the future. As far as reps, I would say around 50 to 75 reps with managers, with managers, project managers, guys like our on-site project manager Anthony offered. He's the best in the industry, and I say that because I've worked with the company we were previously at, another company after that I was at, and they both had project managers, and Anthony's one of the best project managers that I've ever seen in the field during a roof build, taking photos, documenting everything. Having several of those guys. Well, I would say probably 50. I like the 50 number.
50
Maybe
is a big
75.
number, man.
Yeah.
I know a lot of companies that never get to 50, so that's huge.
Yeah.
That is tremendous. And like I
Well,
said, I have no doubt.
I would say maybe I'm thinking about both office. So I'm trying to compare to the Dallas and OKC, and I'm like, okay, cool. If we can attain 50 as a collective, I think it would be
Yeah, you'll be one of the top country or top companies in the United States at that point, and why not, right? That's why we get into this. I mean, for me, it's been kind of a battle of we started off trying to build $100 million a year roofing company, and I feel like Rio Blanco grew too fast. And before I was able to really get my feet under me, it was like, okay, now you're opening another office. Now you're opening a third office, and having to do that travel and having to do all that stuff really thinned me out to the point where I feel like I was never as effective as I could be. Yeah. And I like the vision that you've got where it's like, we're going to build it. This is what we're ultimately striving to get to. Yeah. But we're not willing to sacrifice quality to get to quantity. Right. And that's how people win. That is the biggest misconception, I think, is that it's a numbers game. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a numbers game because really you waste a lot of your time. You waste a ton of your energy and you waste a ton of money just trying to train people that don't end up sticking around anyway. So if you build it right, you put the systems in place to where people can come in and say, look, man, this is solid. I'm going to be able to succeed and thrive, help my family develop. Maybe one day down the road, come in and tell these guys, hey, I'm willing to go jump off and do a branch in, Missouri or Kansas or whatever. And I think having that big picture, but not being in a huge rush to get to it is the most valuable thing that you can do. And that because you've been a part of it. Like I said, we've done the exact same journey. It's crazy when you think about it. We literally have done the exact same thing. And it's awesome when you can take those lessons that you've learned and apply them and then move forward and be successful. So I see 5 years from now, 50 reps being, no big thing for you. And I have no doubt that you can manage 50 people and that you've got the ability to do it because I've seen it. And I think it's really cool, Gilbert. I'm really proud of you, man, because, we never really got to be very close when we worked together because we were in completely different locations, but you've always been a guy that I've had a high level of respect for. And like I said before, you always stood out in the crowd. And that was a pretty damn good crowd that we were in. And to stand out in a crowd of people like that really says a lot for who you are. I have no doubt whatsoever you're going to be at the top. And, I hope I live long enough to be around to see that. but that's just me joking.
Yeah.
I'm 46, so I'm getting up there in age. I've been doing this for 26 years now, and seeing stories like yours is what really inspires me to keep moving, to keep doing this, to go out and try to make myself better every day, because I realize there's a whole bunch of guys out here that are just like you, that are moving up the ladder. And if I want to maintain my spot as one of the people in the industry that people look up to, I got to continue to improve, because you guys have new skill sets that I didn't even know about when I started. And it's really awesome to see that, because it pushes me, and I love it, because, you know, it is what it is. Just seeing other people succeed is what really makes me happy. It's never been about me. It's always been about watching other people thrive in an environment that we create for them. So that is absolutely awesome. I do want to circle back around to something, because you hit on this a couple of times, and I'm not going to let you leave Keeping It Rio without telling this. You mentioned this Airbnb, and you've got a problem with your Airbnb, and it was kind of a weird situation. Tell me a little bit about what happened with your Airbnb.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So we spent the whole, we traveled all the way to OKC. We stopped at the gas, or we signed the contract. We stopped at the gas station, got some energy drinks, and we're like, all right, we're gonna drop our stuff at the Airbnb, and we're gonna go hit a neighborhood. And so we get to the Airbnb.
Plan.
Right. We get to the Airbnb, and we're like, I have all the information. And so I'm like, okay, cool. We're here at the Airbnb, but it's a duplex, right? 2-story duplex. So there's 2 doors, left and right. And it says, this is an address, and it has 2 separate addresses because it's a duplex. But apparently it's owned by the same person, right? So it said which one to go into. So I go into that one, the right one. The code works. I open it. We go in, and it's kind of, there's some stuff at the entrance. And I'm like, that's weird. Whatever. It's an older house, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we're here to take care of business. Those are minor details, suitcases and stuff at the door.
Yeah. So we start going up the door. I mean, the stairs, and I hear some voices like really nearby, and I'm like, what? So I start walking up, and then as soon as I get to the door, I'm like, it sounds like someone's in here. And so I barely am at the door, and a lady opens the door, and she's like, can I help you? And I'm like, is this the Airbnb? And she's like, no, this isn't the Airbnb. How'd you get in here? And I was like,
well, I got the codes.
With the code. I was like, I got a code. I'm like, look. I'm like, I got a code. I'm like, this is the code. And she's like, let me see. And she's like, oh my gosh, no, the Airbnb's next door. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then I go, and sure enough, the code works, and then the one on the left side. And so then I messaged the lady. I'm like, hey, like, I just went into someone's house, and we were all, me, Danny, and Dennis were like pretty like shooked up about it, because we're like, dude,
you're not expecting that. You just drove to Oklahoma City, and it's like, damn, I just broke into someone's home while they were there.
Exactly. Like,
dude, a good way to get yourself in a bind right off the bat.
Right. Like, bro, I was like, that could have gone so bad. Like, they could have shot us or something. And rightfully so. Like, someone came into their house,
Oh, yeah, you would have been shot in San Antonio, I promise. Yeah, good thing it was in OKC, where people were a little bit more laid back, and
for real,
But that's a great story right there, and I'll tell you, it happens more often than you think. Yeah. I had the same thing happen to me in Dallas not that long ago. We went up there, and it was a quadplex, and everything was confusing about it. It's like, well, you need to go to this gate, and here's the code, and it didn't work. And I'm like, man, I don't think this is the right place. No, it's got to be the right place. So, we'll go over here, and we'll look around a little bit. Next thing you know, I'm walking in some guy's side yard. He's like, what are you guys doing? And it's like, bro, I don't know. We're supposed to be here, I thought. And, great times. We eventually got it all ironed out and figured out it was like the third one and not the second. And the dude gave us the wrong thing completely. But hey, makes for a good story a year and a half later. Yeah. And you're going to always have that story about how your career started in OKC, and, you can only go up from there. Right.
Right.
So that's pretty badass. And I really appreciate that, because, here's to adventures, and here's to just saying, hey man, we're going to go in there and we're going to make it happen regardless. It's not going to be a perfect ride. Obviously, you know, you get one of the big bumps out of the way early and it's like, okay, that was the worst thing that could have probably happened in that moment. You overcame it. You're out there doing stuff. And, you know, moving forward, we're going to have a good time, guys. That kind of sets the tone for what the company's going to be and for the vibe that you're going to have about it. And y'all can laugh about it now and say, you know what? We were a little bit scared at first, but you know, you should have tried to sell the lady a roof, but that would have been the ultimate baller move right there. Hey, since we're here, have you had anybody look at your roof lately?
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, it was funny. We were definitely laughing about it. But I did want to really quick, right before we started talking about that, you said something that reminded me about I wanted you to know that you also inspired me. Seeing your Facebook posts, which I think is super important also in the industry, is being active on social media and, you know, letting people know what you do. Is your chimneys doing proper construction, you know, proper roof installations, which you'd think is a given in the roofing industry, right? But you
would hope,
right?
At least you're in a place that has licensing now. You know, be grateful for that.
I know, exactly. But yeah,
I appreciate that. And I tell my guy Francisco, who works with me, and he's been with me since the previous Rio Blanco, and we shut the company down for a year before I came back and bought it with another friend. And this guy came back with me immediately and was like, yeah, I love the way that you treat me, and I love doing quality work and the fact that you focus on it. But we laugh about it all the time, man. Down here in Texas, I joke to my homeowners, you know, you could start a roofing company right now and you could go sell the neighbor a roof and be just as qualified as I am on paper. But there's a huge disparity there. And, you know, being one of the people that goes out and tries to do it the right way, it separates you from the pack because it's roofing, dude. You know it as well as I do. There are so many different characters, so many different people with different levels of morals that join this, people that get in it for the wrong reasons. And when you do things for the right reasons and you're genuine about it, it stands out. And that's how I know that we're going to be successful, because we're not like those other guys.
Right. Exactly. 100%. And
I love it.
Exactly. And just like you said, with you know, having that right mentality, having that right integrity, right, is with the work. It's not cutting corners, not coming in for the wrong reasons, right? Like if it's saying because you want to come in for money and stuff like that, and then those are the guys that start cutting corners, eating deductibles, and you know, just making a mess of things, and in the end, you know, just making everyone look bad, giving the roofing industry a bad name from those things. You know, take pride in what you do, right? And I know you do, because like I said, you inspire me, right? I do my own repairs. You know, I got my nail gun. You know, what I know that I can do, and I do it to my best ability. And that's one of the other things that I really take pride in, just like, you know, everyone that you know, has pride in what they do, is doing the right thing, right? And that's one thing that 100% that I look for in every candidate and almost any person, right, that I'm going to be associated with, or as a friend, or, you know, is where's their integrity at? What are their motives, right? Like, are they a good person, or are they more leaning towards bad, you know?
Yeah, shady people are everywhere, and sometimes they disguise themselves as people. And you know, it takes a lot to really see through some people's charade, but they eventually expose themselves. And you know, our only hope is that we can reach these homeowners before those guys do. And I had a guy on here the other day. He's in South Carolina, and he was telling me a story about how some roofing company went out, took a ton of deposits from these homeowners, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 deposits, and then they shut their doors and basically screwed over an entire community of people. And it's like, dude, this guy's going out and they're building the roofs at their cost. They're making no profits on these deals because these other folks got screwed over. And it really shines a light on the good and the bad in this. And, you know, there are people that do that on a daily basis, that steal money from people, that do really, really terrible things. And then there are people that are willing to go out and do whatever they need to do to make it right, to help the industry as a whole, because we do have a terrible reputation, and it's earned, unfortunately, because there's a small faction of it that just goes out and does that stuff. And the more people we can get, that go out and do things the right way, you're a huge asset to the Oklahoma City community, to that market as far as roofing goes, to the people that you're going to bring into your team and your organization, that you're going to make better people. You're going to teach them the right way to do it. And then somewhere down the road, someone that you're going to bring onto your team is going to say, Gilbert, man, I'm going to go start my own company now because of the lessons that I've learned from you. And that's the most rewarding feeling of them all, is when you bring someone in, you teach them the right way, you show them the way to do it. And then they say, hey, you know what? I'm inspired by this to the point where I want to go do my own deal. I want to have people spawn off of what I've learned from you. And it doesn't get any better than that. There's no paycheck in the world that's better than the feeling that you get when you help somebody that was maybe screwed over. You see an elderly person that starts crying tears of joy because you're doing right by them. And they say, you know what? I gave up hope. I thought all roofers were trash. I thought all people were trash. I thought that I was a victim, and no matter what I did, I was going to get screwed. And because of you and the way that you've helped me, it's changed my entire outlook on life. And, like I said, I've got no doubt that you're going to be one of those guys over there. And the reality of the matter is, Gilbert, you and I have been talking for over an hour, and I'm more excited now than I was when we started. So this has been absolutely great. I want to do one thing. I want to ask you this, okay? I always joke with everyone that's on the show, and I say millions of people are going to see this, and that's my goal. I'm trying to take out Joe Rogan eventually as the top podcast in the world, and I've got a elaborate scheme on how I'm going to do it, but people are going to watch this, and people are going to see you, and they're going to say, man, you know what? I really like this guy. He's got a great personality, great energy. I can clearly tell that he's not doing this just to take advantage of people. And I'd like to be a part of that team. I'm somewhere in the Oklahoma City area. How do people get a hold of you if they want to join your team? If they want to say, hey, Gilbert, give me a shot. Let's talk at least and see if I'm a good fit for you. What's a good way for us to start with building this team of 50 through Keepin It Rio podcast?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So you can easily get on our Facebook, Restoration Roof and NTX, send us a message. Go on our website, restorationroofandntx.com. Or you can send me a text, add me on Facebook, 972-504-4615. Again, 972-504-4615. But yeah, I'm super excited for this opportunity. We're out here killing it already with people coming up there. We have reps coming out from Dallas every now and then coming to assist. And we have momentum going literally in December. I mean, I've been in the industry not as long as you, Chuck, not nowhere near as long. But
you haven't been alive as long as I've been in the industry. You made me feel like a kid, though. I love it.
You're only a couple years older than me. Aren't you, like, what, 29, 30?
There you go. I look 29, I feel.
Right?
At least in my mind.
And I've seen where companies are like, guys, y'all need to be pushing, and there's no sales in December, no roofs going on in December. And in December we got contracts being signed and waiting to schedule roofs. So I'm really thankful to God for the opportunity, for the company, for life, really, man. And I appreciate you for having me on this podcast. I feel a little bit more flowy now with that.
Yeah, right. And that leads me to my next thing is, you're just getting kicked off right now. I'm throwing an open invitation out to you that later on down the road, we're going to do this again. For sure. And you're going to tell me how you built your team, how you've got these multi-million-dollar producers out there, how you're making a huge difference in the community and all that stuff. Yeah. And I appreciate the fact that you're at the stage you are and that you took the time to talk to me about it, because it's going to be one of those things that we can follow your progression. And I really look forward to that. And the one thing I got to mention before we wrap up our show today, I got to mention my sponsor, Gilbert. And I'm sure you've heard of Roofer. Roofer has been my sponsor on Keepin It Rio for the last 2 years. We're getting ready to re-up for a third year. I'm very hopeful before this episode airs to have all that stuff taken care of. They've been a great partner for me. They've helped me tremendously. I use all of their stuff with my roofing business, and just those relationships that we've built over the course of the last several years has been great to me. So anybody that's in the roofing industry, if you haven't tried Roofer, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. You need to try it, because I've been screaming about it for 2 years. And I've been a believer in them since literally the very early days of that company as well. And, you know, just watching good people grow and develop and having relationships with them like that is the most rewarding part of this. And it's why I'm still in this industry. You know, you see roofs get built all the time, and it's like, yeah, whatever. It's not about the roofs. It's about the people. It's about the folks that you help. And you're doing an amazing job. I've watched you grow and develop over the last several years, and I know you're fully equipped to take on this task. You're the perfect guy for the job, and Restoration got themselves an absolute beast. So definitely best of luck to you. And like I said, if you're not using Roofer, you guys need to. And that's just me saying, use Roofer, everybody. But yeah, definitely an open invite. Anytime you want to be on Keepin It Rio, you're more than welcome. We've got the International Roofing Expo coming up here in San Antonio in February. Maybe if you find yourself somewhere around San Antonio in February, which is probably unlikely, but if you get an opportunity to come down and do that, I'd love to, you know, grab lunch or something and just kind of shoot the breeze for a little bit, because you're a guy that I definitely appreciate and admire. And I thank you for taking the time to do this. This means a lot to me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I always like to end the episodes with the corniest tagline in the history of podcasting, or literally the cheesiest shit that you've ever heard in any capacity. And that always is, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, keep on keeping it Rio. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gilbert, again, for taking the time. Appreciate everybody. And we'll see you all again.